Welcome back to the Edinburgh swatching series in which I swatch every single color from Edinburgh. This is episode 14 and these are the lovely colors we're going to be looking at in this episode. We have lamp black, neutral tint, Payne's grey, Chinese white and titanium white opaque. So let's get started with the lamp black. And as I promised in the previous episode, I'm also going to bring back the ivory black so you can see the difference between these two. And as I said in that episode, the ivory black is definitely the more yellowy kind of black. It has a warm undertone, whereas the lamp black, I would say, is dead center in the middle. It's not too cool. It's just black. It's made with PVK 6, which is carbon black. I would say if you want a complete black, go for the lamp black, because with the ivory black, even in the mass tone, there's some lightness and texture, whereas a lamp black is going to give you a nice flat black. So that's one of the reasons to pick lamp black, is if you want a nice flat kind of color. They both suffer from this darkening at the bottom of each stage, but I think the lamp black, the darkness is more pronounced and there's definitely big jumps, and that makes it each stage look like a bigger jumping value than it is. So that's something to look out for. They are both great in water control, so you're not going to get as much cauliflowering even if you use a lot of water. They are both granulating, but ivory black is definitely more noticeable, heavier granulation than the lamp black. The lamp black is classified as semi-transparent. I would agree with that. Classified as non-staining. I would definitely say this is staining, and it's a lot more staining than the ivory black. In terms of the glazing, it's much better than the ivory black because it has that flat look. It goes down nice and evenly. I would classify this as high tinting strength, whereas the lamp black, I would say, is very high in tinting strength. You get much darker mixes. You do need to add more of these other colors to it to get a well-balanced color. But I love the result of mixing lamp black with Queen Rose and with the Sailor Blue shade. And I do see a lot of texture happening in these two colors. You don't see much texture happening in the gradation, but definitely in here I see it. Then we have the neutral tint. And what I'm going to do actually is bring out all the 5 dark colors, because I think you would pick just one of these colors rather than have multiples of these. So let's just line it all up so we can talk about it all together. In terms of hue, so we have sepia, ivory black, lamp black, neutral tint and Payne's grey. These two we've seen in the last episode. Sepia is definitely the warmest of the browns. Ivory black is black but with a yellow warm undertone. Lamp black is like the bang on in the middle, just flat black color. Neutral tint definitely has a violetiness to it, or like a pinkiness there, which is because it has PV19 as well as PG7. And then the Payne's grey is definitely the bluest of the lot, with that ultramarine blue coming through. So between these, I would pick one because of the specific hue you are wanting to go for, but also in how the colors behave. Lamp black is like the reliable flat black that doesn't do crazy stuff. Sepia is definitely the most craziest in terms of behavior. It gets ridging, gets cauliflower, but you might want that. Payne's grey, interestingly, right here where the stage changes, the ultramarine blue comes through more, so you kind of get this two-tone effect that none of the other colors have. Even though neutral tint is a mixture of PV19 and PG7, they don't separate like the Payne's grey does. That might be something you're looking for. It would be a very, very effective look for like a fog or a misty kind of evening night sky kind of color, without you having to do anything other than just put down this color. So that's how I would pick between all these colors. Let's go back to looking at the neutral tint in terms of its characteristics. It's actually classified as non-granulating, but you get lots of texture here in the mass tone. You also get a lot of texture here, I would question this, and even though it's PV19 and PG7, neither of which are granulating colors, it kind of granulates. And we've seen other colors in M. Graham that are non-granulating pigment, but they granulate. So yeah, I wouldn't be shy to say that this is probably a granulating color. Great at water control. Neutral tints tends to cauliflower, not this one. That is the strength of M. Graham in terms of paint behavior. It's great if you are not as confident with water control. It's classified as transparent, and I would agree with that. Classified as staining, I would agree with that. It's good at glazing as well because it's transparent and heavily staining. It is high tinting strength, but it doesn't make, for me, to my personal taste, the prettiest of colors. It is made with PV19, which is the quinacridone violet, with the PG7, which is the phthalocyanine green blue shade. Then we have the Payne's Grey. As I said, it's a very gorgeous two-tone color. It's got the PVK9, which is the bone black. So again, not vegan friendly, with the ultramarine blue, and the two colors separate beautifully here. And if you want to have a much more closer look at how these colors separate and stuff, I put high-res scans of all my test sheets over on my Patreon, patreon.com/Oto Kano. If you can't be bothered to find it on my Patreon, because Patreon isn't most suitable for archiving, I do also have a Patreon lounge where I have control of how to organize them, and I've organized them into series with videos and stuff as well that is accessible to all my patrons above $5. So please consider signing up to that as well. It doesn't suffer from cauliflowering, which is again great, but you do get a lot of strands or flares happening on where the stages change. It is classified as semi-transparent, agree with that. Non-staining, no, I would say this is semi-staining. And it's quite streaky in the mass tone, and I can see a lot of bleeds here, so probably not the best. It's also not going to be the worst. It is high in tinting strengths, and you get these nice muted colors. Then we have a Chinese white, and I'm going to bring out the next color, which is titanium white, because I know you guys will want to know the difference between the two. Here are the two, Chinese white and titanium white opaque. This one's PW6, this is also PW6, so exactly same kind of pigment. I would say that the Chinese white is more opaque, which is unusual because normally titanium white, especially if it's called titanium white opaque, it will be, you would think it's more opaque, but actually, like, I see way more of the deposits, and even in the mass tone, it's much more opaque here, and then definitely a lot more opaque here. They're both classified as opaque, I would agree with that. Classified as non-staining, but these definitely stain. And then in terms of glazing, I would say Chinese white is better than titanium white opaque in that it doesn't go streaky like the titanium opaque does. Now, you might look at the color mixes and go, Otto, what did you do? These look exactly like the main colors. Okay, here was the problem I faced with these two colors. These two both color shift a lot, like a lot when it dries. So with these were, I would say, a strong pastel color when I mixed it and when it was wet. However, as it dries, the pasteliness, the whiteness kind of disappears. So it ended up being very similar to the mixing colors. Whereas when it was wet, there was definitely a much bigger difference between these colors and these colors. So that's something to definitely look out for. I didn't have this problem with the core one, so I don't like to recommend other brands when I'm featuring a brand, but if you don't want to deal with that color shift, then I would recommend core one over the M. Graham one. But these guys aren't shiny or sparkly. If you remember the core one, the whites were sparkly for some reason, whereas these aren't. So it just depends on what you're looking for. If you don't want to sparkle, go for the M. Graham one, but be aware that it will color shift a bit. If you'd like to try the neutral colors that we've covered in this series, then this month's dot card is perfect for you because it is the M. Graham neutral colors. We have transparent yellow iron oxide, yellow ochre, Naples yellow, transparent orange iron oxide, Quinacridone Rust, Transparent, Red Iron Oxide, Burnt Sienna and Terra Rosa. It's a great way to try these colours without having to buy full tubes, and there's plenty on the dot card so you can really play with the colours and get to know them and mix it with the colours you already have on your palette to see how it would work with the palette you already have. If you'd like to receive this dot card, then all you have to do is head on over to patreon.com/Oto Kano and sign up to the appropriate tiers, and this dot card will be with you very shortly. So that's it for this episode. What did you think of these colors? Which one was your favorite? Do let me know in the comments down below. For me, I have a soft spot for lamp blacks. I really like doing monochromatic studies with lamp blacks. It's very close to sumi ink, which, you know, I spent a lot of time in my childhood using. So I'm always attracted to lamp black. But however, Payne's Grey is beautiful as well. It has beautiful effects with this ultramarine blue separating away from the bone black. So I would also recommend Payne's Grey as well. Probably wouldn't recommend the white ones. If you want to purchase any of these colors, I have links down below as always. High-res scans of these also up on my Patreon. In the next episode, I have managed to make a color wheel out of these colors, so we will look at that, as well as another episode where I go through how to pick between these colors like we did with the core one. So do look out for that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will speak to you guys in the next episode. Bye!